Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Lorna Slater is excellent value for money. Every time she opens her mouth, the stupid pours out, and YouTubers up and down the length of the country rush to their computers to do smug little videos on how stupid she is, and this is no different. She's made a ridiculous claim, and in fact she's made two ridiculous claims, one of which is palpably obvious because of where she's sitting, and the other one is palpably obvious because she's a moron. But we'll have a look at this, and we'll just say how this woman managed to become the leader of a party beggars belief. But given how stupid she is, it goes to show how dim the average Green must be to vote for her. Here goes. So, Lorna Slater blasted for an ignorant claim that the UK cannot change, while sitting in a Holyrood that was created just 24 years ago. Remembering that, this woman is a moron, so she can't be expected to remember things the way they used to be a week ago. I've actually probably even couldn't tell you what colour bloody knickers she put on this morning. This woman is that stupid. Anyway, two Scottish Green MSPs, Lorna Slater and Maggie Chapman, and she's just as bad, came under fire for making general comments about the monarchy in Scotland and claiming to speak for the majority of Scots. Well, my darlings, I think the poll results, the election results, prove that second point is way, way off the mark. What did you poll? 5%? You speak for 1 in 20 Scot at best? That's only of the ones that could even be bothered to vote. You have all those that couldn't be bothered. You probably represent 1 in 50 Scots, maybe, at best. I mean, come on. You're speaking for the majority of Scots. My arse. Anyway, two Scottish Green MSPs who joined a poorly attended Republican rally in Edinburgh on the day of the King's coronation have been blasted for making ignorant statements. Well, of course it was poorly attended. Everyone was at home watching the coronation. But critics have pointed out that she was being ignorant, as she is an MSP in a Holyrood, which only came into existence 24 years ago, thanks to the UK changing. And I think she's got a bit of a cheek anyway, considering that if anyone can change, it shows that Britain can, because we're actually allowing Canadians to come in and pretend to be Scottish and then go and sit in the Scottish Parliament. Because after all, she was born in Canada, in Calgary, I think, Calgary. I think she was born in Calgary. So she is actually a Canadian. And then she has the cheek to come over here to this country and tell us that we are unchanging. We gave Canada its independence. She needs to be thankful for that. And maybe she should enjoy that Canadian independence and bugger off back to Canada. She obviously doesn't like this country very much. And yet here she is. Amazing, isn't it? Her colleague, Maggie Chapman, was attacked for lecturing Scots on the royal family, as she claimed the majority of the country don't care about the monarchy. Actually, that's not entirely true. Only 40% of Scots want an elected head of state. And I can reduce that. I can make that 40% shrink. I'm going to give you two examples. Would you vote for an elected head of state if you were to have President Sturgeon? Or if you were to have, and God help you if you did, President Blair? I mean, those two alone would be enough to ensure that Charles will be your king for the rest of your life. Anyway, the pair were keynote speakers at a Republican rally at Calton Hill on Saturday with other attendees, including SNP MP Tommy Shepherd and Nationalist councillor Graham Campbell, known for his various very loud outbursts, shall we say. He is an extremist. He is a dangerous man. He is much akin to the National Socialist. He's more National Socialist than Nationalist. And he is quite a dangerous man. And he advocates for physical, reaction to things. I'm very careful about how I say these things, but armed resistance wouldn't be. I wouldn't put that past him. Put it that way. But they are aligning themselves with people like this. Luckily, most people don't, which is why it was very, very poorly attended. People have had enough of that kind of rhetoric. They don't want to go back to the good old days of, let's say, what happened in Northern Ireland through the Troubles, because that is the sort of thing that Graham Campbell is advocating. People have had enough of that crap, and it's very dangerous, and he needs to be watched. And I hope The security forces are keeping a very close eye on that man because I wouldn't trust him as far as I could comfortably spit a rat. About 300 people attended the event. They were hoping for thousands, and barely 300 turned up. Which was held at the same time as a pro-independence march in Glasgow, and which, depending on the paper you read, was either attended by the official figure that they said, which was 20,000, or, as the BBC said, 2,500. I think the National said 4,000, but they wouldn't they? And I believe the official figure in the Herald was something like 2,000. So nobody really knows how many were there. And I have tried looking, and I haven't seen many photographs of the crowd. So it's very hard to judge. So if anyone of my good viewers here actually has any pictures of the crowd, or was there even, I don't know, do post them, or at least post a link to them, and we'll see for ourselves how few or many turned up. But I bet it wasn't as many as 20,000, the official figure, that's for sure. Anyway, Miss Slater only spoke for a short period of time, presumably trying to get a flight back with Harry, so she can get a link up to her home in Calgary. Anyway, she said it only spoke for a short period of time and proclaimed that when it comes to the monarchy, Scotland says no, which got cheers from the very, very small crowd. It was only small because, as I say, most of them were at home watching the coronation. I believe it is something like 52% pro-monarchy, 40% pro-elected head of state, and then the rest sort of don't know, don't care. In the middle, it is there. But she does not speak for the majority of Scots on any issue at all, because 5% of the electorate do not represent the majority of Scots. Afterwards, she spoke to a pro-independence newspaper, The National, and said there's such a weird idea that the UK cannot change, cannot evolve, and it has to be ossified and old-fashioned. And that's why it's the most rapidly changing country in the world. We are so different from where we were. In my lifetime, the world was different. When I was young, 50 years ago, the world was different. Then you had the 8-bit computer revolution in the 80s. The world changed on a sixpence. Then you had the millennium. The world changed again. And then in the last 5 years, the world has changed again. And Britain has changed every time the world has changed. So this woman is just opening her mouth and letting the dumbness pour out. To say Britain can't change is absolute bollocks. We are one of the most progressive countries in the world. And we are fast and hard adopters of new. We are always leaders. We are never behind. So she is full of shit. And if she wants to go to an old-fashioned country, she needs to piss off back to Canada. But I bet the Canadians don't want her. But she lived her life under Trudeau. My God, she would soon get on a flight and come back here because of what he's doing to Canada. Anyway, she said it's one of the reasons why I believe in independent Scotland, because part of creating that new country is writing our own constitution and having some really good conversations about what's possible. How can we make a bigger, brighter, more equal future? Well, I think it could start with you pissing off and getting rid of the SNP, and thus relieving people of all the pressure and awful shit that is piled upon them for the last 16 years. Anyway, she said that's our best route to a Republican future, is to work towards Scottish independence and the writing of that new constitution. Yes, but you don't want Scotland to have a job. You're anti-industry. So I don't know what you think, how this wonderful utopia of Scotland that you foresee is going to be paid for. Because it won't be the English foot in the bill if you get independence, and there won't be anyone foot in the bill if the industry has gone. And that is green policy. You want the shipbuilders shut down. You want all the power stations shut down. You want factories shut down. You want everyone to go back to cobbling shoes and riding horses, which is terrible for the environment. This is the level you've got. These people are morons. That's why they can't manage to get a majority, because people aren't stupid enough to vote for them. But anyway, her comments were criticised by those who pointed out that UK politics has changed massively in the last 20 or so years, and she didn't know what she was talking about. No surprise there. We all know she knows fuck all. Scottish Lib Dem finance spokesman John Ferry said, "Not sure if this is ignorance or being deliberately obtuse." Oh, this is Lorna Slater. This is ignorance. Lorna sits in a parliament created just over 20 years ago in a constantly evolving UK. The change might not be as emotionally satisfying as her teenage dreams of revolution, but democracies never stand still. Jim Monaghan, poet and anti-racism activist, added, "Not really sure what she's talking about. Who holds this weird idea that the UK cannot change? She is an MSP in a parliament that didn't even exist 24 years ago and has changed dramatically since it did. And then everyone's just sort of piling into her there. It's because she is an absolute moron. I mean, she is. She's sitting there. I mean, she's looking. She's probably playing solitaire because there's nothing that she can contribute to any sort of conversation. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Every idea the Greens have had has been an awful idea. Why they're still there, we don't know, because the Gender Act is going to get bounced. The bottle deposit scheme is bounced back to March, which is another way of saying quietly shelved. What was the other one? There was another one. I can't even remember. There's so many dumb ideas that there's just too many to mention. But there was one the other day they came up with, and that was it was the 26 million for colleges. That's right. Did a video on that. That was announced by one of the Green colleagues, and within about 4 hours, it had been bounced out, and they would say, "No, that's not going ahead. We're not doing it." These people are morons. Who keeps voting for them? Bigger morons. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. When you have a party that is just filled with people with barely room temperature IQ, and they sit and they're around their little huddle, probably drinking gin out of teacups, and then coming up with strange, weird ideas, cobbling them together on the back of an envelope and saying, "Yeah, this is policy." They don't think it through. They haven't got a clue. They don't know what they're doing. But it sounds good, and it gives the virtuous tofu-eating, sandal-wearing, tree-hugging brigade someone to vote for. But these people don't actually have proper jobs that pay enough to earn taxes, to pay taxes. And so for them, destroying the economy doesn't mean anything. But for anyone else who works and has to earn a living and needs a job, their policies are sheer madness. But then they sit there, despite presenting these policies, everyone sees that they're madness. And that's why they don't get voted in very often. But then when they do get a little glance at power now, because they're propping up the SNP, they go, "Oh, we've got an idea, let's get our policies out there." And then they talk utter balls. And people listen to them. The press just needs to start treating these people for what they are. Bloody lunatics. Don't give them airtime. Or at least do give them airtime. But do it so that we can ridicule them. Because everything they do is pure lunacy. And then to sit there and go, "Oh, I speak for the majority of Scotland." 5% of the electorate. You're morons. Anyway, I shall finish there. But they're always entertaining, aren't they? Anyway, later, Slater. So, where was I? Oh yes, castigating them, but I shall stop. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please do hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, but definitely leave a like. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't vote for the Greens, you'll end up losing your job, and goodbye.